Well, we're back. And now it's time for another brilliant lab. This is lab number 13. This is all about intrusion detection and prevention, the distributed intrusion detection and prevention. So let's come over here to the lab manual real quick and take a look at our diagram and kind of see what we're going to work with here. Now, really, we're just going to work with the distributed IDS IPS on the SA Web 03 victim virtual machine. That's what we're going to attack here, and we're going to do that from this SAX VM01 external VM01. This is where we're going to run our intrusion tests. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to go through a whole bunch of stuff, right? Standard lab preparation, and then we're going to turn on intrusion detection and prevention and make sure we've got the signatures. We'll configure policies and rules after we configure a profile. We'll generate some malicious traffic. Then we'll continue to kind of work through with putting segments or putting virtual machines on segments rather, and dealing with some of that traffic and watching how things happen and looking at those events. And finally, we're going to change from intrusion detection to intrusion prevention and try it again and see what happens there. So what's our lab preparation? Well, our lab preparation is to make sure we've got the NSX UI up and open. I'm going to go ahead and close our 3-tier app and close the console to Web 01, and we'll come back here. We also need our vSphere client open. We're going to be doing some work in here. So we see that I have been logged out of that. So we'll go ahead and copy my username and paste it in. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the password so that we can get all logged in. Because we'll need this. We'll need this here in just a little bit. And, you would think I would have learned by this point just to reopen the tab and log in that way. But obviously I haven't. So what are we going to do? First things first, we need to turn on intrusion detection and prevention. So we're going to go back to the NSX UI. And under the security tab, and we happen to already be here, under the security tab, under policy management here, we're going to come into IDS IPS and malware prevention. And we can go through the setup. We can run through the start setup tab and kind of walk through a wizard to do this. But here we're just going to skip that for now. We'll do it all manually just so you can see what that wizard is going to end up doing. So what are we going to go into here? Well, here we need to go into the settings tab, and here under shared settings, we need to go ahead and enable all of this intrusion detection and prevention on our compute cluster. Right, on our compute cluster. We're not going to worry about the management cluster. That's not prepared for NSX. We're not going to worry about standalone hosts. We don't have any of those. But we'll go ahead and enable that. You saw the pop-up, and we want to say, yes, of course, we want to enable that. And here we can see the toggle has switched to on. Now, since we're still here, let's go over to the IDS IPS tab and see what our signatures are. And here we have interesting installation failed. So we'll go ahead and reinstall the signatures, and we can see the installation. The installation happened. Let's go ahead and turn on auto update just to see, or not just to see, but to have that there. Now I'm not going to worry about this immediately because our status here is successful. We've got a whole bunch of intrusion signatures and so on, we're going to ignore the error because this is a lab environment, and our lab environment sometimes generates some relatively spurious error messages. So at this point, let's go to the Profiles tab. All right, we've got the intrusion detection system enabled. It's turned on now. We have signatures. We're in good shape. And under profiles, we have IDS, IPS, and malware prevention subtabs. We're working with intrusion detection and prevention right now, so we'll go ahead and add a profile here. And we're going to go ahead and call this the IDS, IPS profile. Not the IDPS profile, the IDS, IPS profile. And we'll go ahead and describe this. Critical, high, and suspicious signatures. Well, if I could only spell. This is why I teach things like NSX, not spelling. So critical, high, and suspicious. That's what we want here, right? Just to match up with what we got in the description. That's what we're looking at. Critical severity, high severity, and suspicious severity signatures. And we'll go ahead and save this. And now we have our custom profile here. It says uninitialized over here. Let's refresh that. Now it says success, right? Just a brief delay in the UI. At this point, we want to start configuring our rules. So let's go over to distributed rules. Right here, we'll add a policy, and we'll just call this our IDS IPS policy. And then we want to add a rule. So let's come in here and add a rule. And we'll just call this IDS IPS rule. R-U-L-E, rule. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we're gonna inspect any traffic from any source to any destination, any service, and we're going to select a security profile. And as we select our security profile, we want to make sure we're looking at our IDS IPS profiles, and we want to go ahead and select the profile we just created, the IDS IPS profile. Let's go ahead and apply that. We'll apply this to the entire distributed firewall, and we want to detect only at this point, right? Later on in the lab, we'll change that, but right now we just want to detect. So let's go ahead and publish this. We see our status is in progress. We'll refresh that. It's been successfully programmed into the data plane. So what do we want to do from here? Well, from here, we want to generate some malicious traffic. So we need to go back to MT-PuTTY. And in MT-PuTTY, under the miscellaneous header, we want to find SA EXTVM 01, our external VM. And instead of walking you through the whole process of running Metasploit, we have a script here that does all of this for us. So we'll just run the attack.sh shell script. And we need to do this with super user permissions. Now, we're logged in as the user VMware. We can tell that from the prompt here. So we want to launch this with super user permissions. So we're going to use the Linux sudo command to elevate our privileges for this command. And so we'll hit enter, and it asks for a password, right? Our password here is the same, capital V, capital M, WARE1 bang, that we have been using throughout the rest of these labs. So we'll go ahead and run that, and well, we get to wait for just a minute as everything kind of processes. We can start, we can see Metasploit starting, and we'll go ahead and see all kinds of stuff going on here as we are looking at running an actual exploit, and we can look at the we can look at all of the output that's coming out here, and we just get to wait for a moment as this finishes. And there it is, right? Just had to wait just a second. Now we want to go ahead and exit this so that we're out of the Metasploit console. And, well, there we see that, we came through here and opened a command shell and, made some things happen, got everything set up. So what are we going to do now? Well, now we're going to go ahead and go back to NSX. Where is Chrome? There's Chrome. We're going to go back to NSX, and we want to go back to networking because we're going to create a segment just for our attack, and we'll call this our security segment. If we want to do this just like the lab guide, we need a hyphen in there. We'll go ahead and connect this to our tier 1 gateway, T1GW01. This is going to be an overlay network, so we need to come down here and find our prod overlay TZ. And this has 172.16.80.80.1, right? That's a /24. And we'll go ahead and save this segment. Right? No, we do not want to continue configuring. We don't need to continue configuring for anything. And there is our segment. It's been successfully realized. Great. Now we need to go back over to the vSphere client, and we want to put a virtual machine on this segment. So we're going to do that with SA patch VM01. That's what we're going to look at. And we're going to go ahead and edit our settings and attach this to our security segment. So let's scroll down on our list here since it's all alphabetically sorted. And okay, we are connected. Let's go. So now we've got a virtual machine on that security segment. All right. We're going to come into MT Putty. We want to look again at patch VM, which is not list. Nope, there it is. It's in VM's inventory. I was looking for it under miscellaneous. We want to open up a connection here to SA patch VM01, and we want to go ahead and elevate our privileges to root. We want a root shell, and that's what sudo-s does. It opens up a super user shell. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we can ignore the unable to resolve host. We'll use our password, VMware1bang, right? Capital V, capital M. Same as we've been using, and now we see that we've changed our prompt from VMware at, right, the user VMware to the user root. So we've got that. Now we need to make sure we change directory to the directory called root, so cd /root, and we can see the prompt changed here to /root, right? That's our current working directory. And we have a pcap file here, right? If we do an ls, to list all the files, we see the suspicious ID ps.pcap file, and we're going to use the TCP replay command to replay this across or sourced from the ENS160 Ethernet interface. And so we'll go ahead and start typing that. Now, this is a Linux bash shell, so you can use the tab key to complete the file name. You don't have to type suspicious-idps.pcap. You can just type the first couple of characters and then hit the tab key, and the shell will find the file that matches. And so we'll go ahead and run that, and we see that happened. 10 packets, 0.07 seconds. It just went. And there it is. Now, at this point, we want to see what the intrusion detection and prevention system has detected. So we'll come up here to NSX, right, back to Chrome, to our NSX tab, and we want to go to the security tab again. Now, under threat and event monitoring, let's go to IDS IPS, and we see a couple of tests, right, a couple of events. And these are coming from the Metasploit script that we ran and that TCP replay that we can see. So we're gonna see that. We can look at these. We can click on one of these and see some details. Notice when I clicked on that, it highlights the high severity intrusion attempt, and down here in the tabular view, we see the impact score. We see that this is high severity. This is a CouchDB remote privilege escalation attack. There's CVE details. We could click that and go go look at that, go dig into that if we really want. I'm going to go ahead and close that. We can see that this has a CVSS score of 9.8, and that we are seeing this event. We've seen it detected once in the last 14 days from 172.20.10.101 to 172.16.10.13. All right, so we can look at that and get all kinds of information about the event itself. Now, what happens if we look at the full event history? That's going to pop up this intrusion history window, and we'll see that that this is this affected our SA Web 03 victim, one attempt. It was TCP. It matched the IDS IPS rule and the IDS IPS profile. So we get a whole bunch of information here. Now we can go ahead and close this and close that and drop that down, and we can do the same thing for some of these other events, right? We really if you read through the lab guide, we look at some of these events that are labeled detect VMware NSX test. So we could look at that and see a little bit about that. We could see the hypervisor where this was detected and so on. This is Trojan activity. Is the attack type and so on and so forth. So we can see all of this kind of information, right? So lots of good information here in the dashboard. So we can use this and see what has been happening. Now, what if we don't want to only detect? What if we want to prevent as well? That's easy enough to change, right? We can come down to our IDS and IPS and malware prevention policy management and expand out our policy and look at our rule, and we can change our action from detect only to detect and prevent. All right, we can do that. We can publish this. And from here, we can go in and search for the CVEs once we look at the profiles, right? So we have to go back to our profiles, or I'm sorry, our settings, and IDS IPS, and our manage signature set. That's what we're looking for here. View and manage our signatures. And we can come in and look at CVEs. One of them was 12635, 27-12635. And so we can just filter that out, and we see that that is set to reject. So that'll be our action here. And we wanted to validate this because we can look at the action and notice that we've got an alert action, right? If we set the action to alert, we're not going to actually stop any attacks. We're simply going to alert. So even if the signature, or even if the rule rather, is set to detect and prevent like we just set, if the action is set to alert, all we're going to do is alert. Reject and drop will actually do stuff. So we'll go ahead and look at that. We can save this, but we didn't make any changes, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And from here, we'll go back to MT Putty. Right? What we're going to do now is rerun that CouchDB attack. So where's our external VM01? There it is. So here, we're just going to run the attack again. And we should, here in just a minute, see a response that says no session was created. There it is. Exploit completed, but no session was created down here at the bottom. Right? Nothing here. So let's go ahead and exit the Metasploit session and come back to NSX. What does NSX show us now? Let's go back to threat event monitoring and IDS IPS. We'll go ahead and refresh this. Where is it? We do have to wait, and just to be safe, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and run that attack one more time, just to be sure. Just to be sure. And this really comes down to, maybe I'll do it 2 more times. This just comes down to the fact that we don't see things quite immediately, right? They have to be processed through the management plane and through the through the NSX infrastructure, and we still don't see it. We still don't see it. We can look at, oh, there it goes. There it goes. There we found it. So if we go and look at the attack, we saw it here. I don't see it in the timeline, and that's kind of unusual. But here we see that we did prevent an event, and we see that the action here is reject. All right, so there we have that. So if you don't see the attack in the timeline immediately, we can still look at the events. We can see that we've got kind of an asynchronous display going on here. I would expect to see something else down here where it might have been processed as an attack scene, but we can find it in our events, because this is simply a CouchDB attack. That's all that Metasploit event was doing, and so I can find that. And again, we can see that that we have prevented this once here. So that is that. That's our intrusion detection and prevention system in action, right? So come back for the next couple of labs. We've got some cool stuff about NSX application platform and some of its services waiting in the wings for us. We'll see you soon.